Hey, my name's Ethan. I'm 26, and I work as a maintenance tech for electrical and plumbing at this mid-sized architecture firm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's not the most glamorous job. Fixing leaky faucets, rewiring outlets, troubleshooting HVAC systems, but it pays the bills, and I like the hands-on work. Keeps my mind busy without all the corporate drama. Right now, my apartment's undergoing some major renovations. Burst pipe flooded the place last month, so the company let me crash in one of the employee restrooms in the basement. It's nothing fancy, a twin bed, a mini fridge, a desk lamp that flickers if you don't jiggle the cord just right. But it's temporary and hey, it's free. The only downside? The room's right next to the administrative office where Sophia works. She's the 42-year-old admin supervisor, the one who handles all the paperwork, schedules, and basically keeps the whole place from falling apart. I've always been a bit intimidated by her. Not in a bad way. She's just got this poised, no-nonsense vibe. Always dressed sharp in those tailored skirts and blouses, her dark hair pulled back neatly, and those glasses that make her look like she could spot a typo from across the room. We nod at each other in the halls sometimes, exchange a quick good morning, but that's about it. She's way out of my league in every sense. Age, position, everything. I keep my head down and do my job. That night started like any other late shift. It was around 1 a.m., and I'd just gotten a call from the night security guy about the air conditioning acting up in the main conference room. The system's old, prone to glitches, especially when the desert heat outside pushes it too hard. I grabbed my toolkit from the basement and headed up to the utility room on the second floor. It wasn't a big fix, just a clogged filter and some loose wiring, but it took about an hour to sort out. By the time I was done, I was sweaty, tired, and ready to crash back in my temporary digs. The building was dead quiet at that hour, lights dimmed in the hallways, only the hum of the vending machines breaking the silence. As I made my way back down, passing by the admin wing, I noticed a faint glow coming from under Sophia's office door. Weird, I thought. She usually left by 6 p.m. sharp. Maybe she forgot to turn off her desk lamp. I figured I'd poke my head in quick, flip the switch, and head out. No harm in saving a little electricity. I turned the knob gently, it wasn't locked, and pushed the door open just enough to peek inside. And there she was. Sophia, lying on the small leather sofa against the far wall, her eyes closed, breathing steady like she was deep in sleep. Her skirt was rumpled, one heel kicked off on the floor, and she had a stack of reports clutched loosely in her hand, like she'd been working late and just conked out mid-review. The room smelled faintly of her perfume, something soft and floral, mixed with the stale coffee from the mug on her desk. I froze in the doorway, my heart suddenly pounding. What the hell was I supposed to do? Wake her? Leave her there? The office AC was cranked low. She might catch a cold if she stayed like that all night. But barging in felt wrong, intrusive. She's my boss, for Christ's sake. I stood there for what felt like minutes, debating, my toolkit heavy in my hand. Assuming she was out cold, I decided to slip in quietly, maybe grab a blanket from the supply closet down the hall and drape it over her. No big deal, right? Just being decent. I stepped inside, careful not to let my boots squeak on the tile, and approached the sofa. Up close, she looked vulnerable. Not the stern supervisor I saw during the day, but a woman exhausted from whatever weight she carried. Her face was relaxed, lips slightly parted, and a few strands of hair had fallen across her forehead. I don't know what came over me. It wasn't planned, wasn't some creepy impulse. It was just this rush of protectiveness, like I wanted to shield her from the cold, from the late nights, from whatever made her push herself so hard. I leaned down slowly, my breath catching, and pressed the lightest kiss to her forehead. Barely a brush of lips, gone in a second. It felt right in that moment, stupid as it sounds now. Then I straightened up, turned, and slipped out the door, closing it softly behind me. Back in my room, I couldn't shake it. What the fuck had I just done? My mind raced as I paced the small space, toolkit dumped on the bed. Had she felt it? Was she really asleep? Or had I just crossed a line that could get me fired? Sophia was twice my superior, age, experience, authority. I'm just the guy who fixes pipes, the one nobody notices unless something breaks. Why would I even think I had the right? But deeper down, it wasn't about rights. I'd been noticing her for months, the way she handled crises with calm efficiency, the rare smiles she gave when someone did good work, the quiet strength in her posture. It wasn't lust, it was admiration, mixed with something softer I couldn't name. That kiss? It was impulsive, yeah, but it came from a place of genuine care. Still, guilt gnawed at me. What if she woke up confused or worse, disgusted? I imagined her marching into HR first thing in the morning, reporting the incident. My job, my stability, gone. I sat on the edge of the bed, head in my hands, replaying the scene over and over. The building's silence pressed in, amplifying every creak, every distant hum. Sleep? Forget it. I lay there wide awake, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts a storm of regret and unspoken longing. Little did I know, across the wall, Sophia wasn't sleeping either. She'd seen it all, felt it all, and her world had just tilted in ways neither of us could have predicted. The morning after that night felt like walking through fog. I dragged myself out of bed at dawn, splashed cold water on my face, and tried to shake off the knot in my stomach. The building was still quiet when I started my rounds, checking the boilers, testing the emergency lights, the usual routine to keep my hands busy and my mind from spiraling. But every corner I turned, I half expected to run into Sophia, her eyes accusing or worse, indifferent. What if she'd woken up right after I left? What if she'd felt that kiss and pieced it together? I replayed it endlessly. The soft warmth of her skin, the way her breathing hadn't changed. She had to have been asleep, right? By the time the office started filling up around 8 a.m., I was a wreck inside, but I kept my face neutral. No one needed to know the maintenance guy was unraveling over a stupid, impulsive moment. I didn't see her until mid-morning. I was in the break room refilling the water cooler when she walked in for coffee. Our eyes met for a split second. Hers steady, mine probably darting away too fast. "Morning, Ethan," she said, her voice as composed as ever, pouring creamer into her mug like nothing had happened. I mumbled a morning back, my throat tight, and busied myself with the jug. She lingered a beat longer than usual, stirring her coffee slowly but didn't say anything else. Just nodded and left. Was that it? No confrontation? No weirdness? Or was she just biding her time? The rest of the day dragged. I fixed a jammed printer on the third floor, replaced some burnt-out bulbs in the lobby, all while stealing glances toward the admin wing. Nothing. No emails summoning me to HR, no awkward summons to her office. By quitting time, I was starting to think maybe I'd gotten away with it. Maybe she really had been asleep. But that night, lying in my temporary room again, the doubt crept back. I couldn't stop thinking about her, not just the kiss, but her. The way she carried herself through the chaos of deadlines and meetings, always calm, always in control. I'd noticed it before, in passing, but now it felt sharper, more personal. Over the next few days, things shifted in subtle ways I couldn't quite pin down. Sophia started acknowledging me more. Not big gestures, but little ones. Like when I was hauling some equipment through the hall, she'd hold the door open instead of letting it swing shut. Or during a staff meeting about building updates, she'd ask my opinion directly. "Ethan, what's your take on the HVAC upgrades?" I'd answer, keeping it professional, but inside my pulse would spike. Was she testing me, or was it nothing? I told myself to stop overthinking. I'm just the tech guy, young, unassuming, the kind who blends into the background. I show up on time, fix what's broken, don't complain about the long hours or the occasional overtime. That's me. Reliable, quiet. Not the type to rock the boat. But with Sophia, I'd always been different. Most folks avoided her gaze. Intimidated by her authority, I guess. Not me. I'd meet her eyes in the elevator, give a small smile. Never to suck up, just respect. She earned it. It wasn't until about a week later that I realized she was noticing me back. I was in the utility closet sorting cables when I overheard voices in the adjacent storage room. Two admins chatting over supply runs. "Sophia's been on edge lately," one said. "Late nights again?" the other replied. "Yeah, but she's been asking about that maintenance kid, Ethan. Wanted to know if he's reliable for off-hours stuff." My hands froze on the wires. Asking about me? Why? I slipped out quietly, heart racing. That afternoon, as I passed her office on my way to fix a flickering light in the conference room, I caught her glancing up from her desk. Our eyes locked for a moment longer than usual. She didn't smile, but there was something in her expression. Curiosity? Or was I imagining it? Later that day, she emailed me directly. "Ethan, could you check the printer in my office? It's jamming." Simple request, but she'd never messaged me personally before. Usually it went through the ticketing system. When I knocked and entered, she was at her desk, papers spread out, looking focused as ever. "Thanks for coming so quick," she said, gesturing to the machine in the corner. I nodded, got to work, cleared the jam, tested a print. The whole time, I felt her eyes on me, not staring, but observing. As I packed up, she asked casually, "How's the basement room treating you? Not too cramped?" I blinked, surprised. "It's fine, ma'am. Appreciate the company letting me stay." She leaned back in her chair, adjusting her glasses. "Sophia is fine. And good. Glad it's working out." There was a pause, heavy with unspoken things. I wanted to say something about that night, clear the air, but the words stuck. Instead, I just nodded and left. But walking away, I felt a spark. Maybe she hadn't been asleep. Maybe she'd felt that kiss, and maybe, just maybe, it hadn't repelled her. The subtle changes kept coming. She'd pass me in the hall and say, "Good job on the AC fix last week. Saved us a bundle." Compliments like that, small but pointed. I'd catch her watching from her window as I loaded tools into the van outside. And every time I'd remember that moment on the sofa, her peaceful face, the vulnerability she hid so well during the day. I started piecing together more about her. Overheard snippets. Divorced a few years back, no kids, buried in work to keep going. She didn't date, didn't socialize much with the staff, isolated in a way. And me? I'd always been the observer, the one who noticed when someone was struggling, like how I'd fix things before they broke completely. With Sophia, it felt the same. I wanted to fix whatever weighed on her, even if I had no right. Then came the moment that cracked everything open. I was in the break room grabbing a soda, chatting with Mike from accounting. He was venting about the bosses, and somehow the conversation turned to Sophia. "She's tough, man," he said. "Intimidating as hell." I shrugged. "Nah, she's just focused. I mean, I've seen her pull all-nighters on reports. Makes you want to, I don't know, protect her or something?" Mike laughed. "Protect? Dude, she's old enough to be your mom." I felt my face heat. Age doesn't matter, she's real. Not like the others faking it. We wrapped up, and I headed out, not realizing the door to the adjacent supply closet was ajar. Later that evening, as I wrapped up my shift, Sophia appeared in the basement hallway, unusual for her. "Ethan," she said softly, "can we talk?" My stomach dropped. This was it, the confrontation. But her eyes weren't angry, they were searching. We stepped into my room and she closed the door. "I heard what you said earlier, about wanting to protect me." I froze, words failing. She continued, "And that night, I wasn't asleep. I saw everything." My world tilted. But instead of firing me, she stepped closer. "Why?" she whispered. And in that moment, the attachment we'd been building unknowingly snapped into place. I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew. We were connected now, whether we wanted it or not. The days following that conversation in my basement room felt like stepping into uncharted territory. Sophia and I didn't dive headfirst into anything dramatic. No stolen kisses in the hallways, no whispered confessions over lunch. It was subtler, more tentative, like we were both testing the waters of this unexpected connection. She'd seek me out for small tasks. "Ethan, the light in the copy room is flickering. Could you take a look?" I'd go, fix it, and we'd exchange a few words that lingered just a bit longer than necessary. "Thanks," she'd say, her eyes holding mine with that new softness. "Anytime," I'd reply, feeling the pull between us grow. I started noticing her more intentionally too, the way she'd tuck a strand of hair behind her ear during meetings, or how her shoulders relaxed when the office emptied out. That kiss I'd planted on her forehead? It hung between us like an unspoken promise, not regretted, but acknowledged. For the first time, I felt seen by her, not just as the guy with the toolkit, but as someone who cared. And from the way she'd glance my way, I sensed she felt it too. But reality has a way of crashing in, doesn't it? It started with the rumors. Office gossip is like background noise in a place like this, harmless until it isn't. I didn't hear it directly at first, but whispers have a way of echoing. One afternoon, I was in the supply room restocking bulbs when I overheard two designers chatting by the coffee machine outside. "You see how Ethan's always around Sophia's office lately?" one said, her voice low but carrying. "Kid's probably trying to charm his way up the ladder. Bet he's gunning for a promotion or something." The other laughed. "Yeah, or worse, heard he's staying in the basement." Convenient, right? Guy like him, young and broke, sniffing around the boss lady. Classic. My stomach twisted. I stayed hidden, gripping a box of fuses until my knuckles whitened. They didn't know shit about me, about us. But the words stung because they hit close to my own fears. The age gap, the power imbalance, the way people might twist something real into something sleazy. I slipped out the back way, avoiding the main floor, my mind reeling. Was that what people thought? That I was using her? By the time I had to drop off some maintenance logs later that day, the knot in my gut had tightened. I knocked on Sophia's door, logs in hand, trying to act normal. She looked up from her computer, her expression neutral at first, but I caught a flicker, something guarded. "Here are the reports you asked for," I said, placing them on her desk. She nodded but didn't meet my eyes fully. "Thanks, Ethan. From now on, you don't need to come up here. I'll handle any handoffs through the front desk." Her voice was cool, professional, like we were back to square one. I stood there, stunned, feeling like the floor had dropped out. "Did I do something wrong?" I managed, my voice quieter than intended. She paused, shuffling papers. "No, it's just better this way." No explanation, no warmth. I nodded, muttered an okay, and left, my chest aching like I'd been punched. What the hell had changed? That morning things had felt possible. Now, shut down. I replayed our last talks, that basement confession. Had I misread her? Pushed too far? The next week was hell. We avoided each other like pros. No hallway nods, no emails, nothing. I'd see her from afar, heading to meetings, her posture rigid again, that vulnerability I'd glimpsed locked away. I'd bury myself in work, crawling through vents to check ducts, soldering pipes in the boiler room, anything to stay busy and out of sight. But at night, in that dim basement room, sleep evaded me. I'd toss on the thin mattress, staring at the water stains on the ceiling, questioning everything. Why had I kissed her? Why risk it all for a moment of tenderness? I wasn't some kid chasing thrills. I'd grown up fast after my parents split, learned to fend for myself young. Stability mattered to me. This job, this routine. Now it felt fragile, like one wrong move could shatter it. And Sophia? I couldn't stop thinking about her pain. If she'd heard those rumors, and she must have, did she believe them? Did she think I was just another opportunist using her exhaustion for my gain? The thought made me sick. I wanted to protect her, not exploit her. But how could I prove that now? As the days dragged, the silence ate at me. I'd catch glimpses of her through windows, working late again, alone under her desk lamp, and feel a pang so deep it hurt. One evening, after everyone had left, I lingered in the parking lot, watching her car pull out last. She looked tired, shoulders slumped as she drove off into the desert dusk. That image haunted me. I knew she was suffering too, not from anger at me, but from her own doubts. The age thing, the boss-employee dynamic, the fear of being seen as weak or foolish. She'd built her life on control, on proving herself in a male-dominated field, rising to supervisor through sheer grit after her divorce left her starting over. Me? I was the wild card, the young tech with nothing to offer but honesty. No wonder she'd pulled back. But knowing that didn't ease the ache. I'd lie awake, replaying her words. I saw everything. If she saw, why shut me out? Was it self-protection or regret? The pain built like pressure in a faulty pipe, slow, unrelenting, threatening to burst. By week's end, I was a shadow of myself. Bags under my eyes, appetite gone, work slipping just enough that my supervisor asked if I was okay. Fine, I'd lie. But inside, I was crumbling, torn between confronting her and letting it all fade. The misunderstanding wasn't just words, it was a wall, and neither of us knew how to tear it down. The week of silence stretched into what felt like an eternity, but life at the firm didn't stop. Deadlines loomed, the holiday season crept in with its forced cheer, decorations in the lobby, a secret Santa email chain I ignored. I threw myself into the grunt work, scrubbing grime from the air vents, patching drywall in the storage room, even volunteering for an off-site repair at a client's building just to get out. Anything to numb the ache. But no matter how hard I pushed, Sophia's cold dismissal replayed in my head like a bad loop. It's just better this way. What did that even mean? Better for who? I started doubting everything, the glances, the conversations, that kiss. Maybe I'd built it all up in my mind, projected my own loneliness onto her. After all, what did a 26-year-old maintenance tech have to offer a woman like her? She had her career, her independence. I had a toolbox and a temporary bed in the basement. The self-doubt gnawed deeper, mixing with the pain of rejection. Nights were the worst, lying there, listening to the building settle, wondering if she'd ever think of me beyond that one impulsive moment. Then came the end-of-year staff gathering. It wasn't some fancy gala. The firm kept it low-key, a rented patio at a local New Mexican restaurant on the outskirts of Albuquerque, with string lights twinkling against the darkening sky, platters of enchiladas and tamales, and a makeshift bar serving margaritas. I almost skipped it. Socializing wasn't my thing, especially now, but the invite said mandatory team building, so I showed up in my best button-down, feeling out of place among the architects and admins chatting about projects and vacations. Sophia was there, of course, looking polished in a deep red blouse and black slacks, her hair down for once, catching the light. We avoided each other masterfully. I'd grab a plate and head to the far end of the patio. She'd mingle with the higher-ups near the fire pit. But the tension was there, electric, like a wire humming just before it sparks. As the evening wore on, the desert chill set in, New Mexico winters bite quick, and light snow began to flurry, dusting the tables like powdered sugar. People started bundling up or heading inside, but I stepped out to the banister overlooking the dark expanse of scrubland, needing air. The cold bit my skin, but it cleared my head. I stood there alone, nursing a soda, staring at the flakes swirling in the wind. I didn't hear her approach at first, the soft crunch of her heels on the gravel patio. But then she was there, beside me, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. Sophia. My heart slammed into my ribs. We stood in silence for a moment, the snow falling thicker now, muting the laughter from inside. She didn't look at me right away, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Why did you kiss me that night?" The question hung in the air raw and direct. I gripped the railing, my knuckles white. I didn't turn to face her, couldn't yet. The words came out slow, honest. Because I knew I'd never get another chance. I knew someone like you would never choose someone like me. She let out a small, shaky breath, visible in the cold air. "And why me?" she pressed, her voice cracking just a fraction. That's when I turned, meeting her eyes fully for the first time in weeks. They were glistening, not with anger, but with something vulnerable, exposed. "Because I don't care who's older," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I just know there's someone who makes me want to step closer, stand quietly beside them, and never leave." She blinked, tears spilling over, tracing silent paths down her cheeks. The snow caught in her hair, melting against her skin. For a long moment, neither of us moved, the world narrowing to just us on that banister, the cold wrapping around like a secret. Then she reached out, her hand trembling, and took mine. It was warm despite the chill, her fingers intertwining with mine in a grip that said everything words couldn't. "I've been so scared," she whispered, her voice breaking. "The rumors, the differences. I thought you were just, I don't know, young and impulsive, but hearing you say that?" She trailed off, squeezing my hand. I stepped closer, the space between us closing. "I'm not impulsive about this," I said softly. "I've seen you, Sophia, the real you, the one who stays late because she cares, who hides her exhaustion behind that perfect poise. After my folks split, I learned to spot people who are strong but hurting. You're one of them, and I want to be there for that." She nodded, more tears falling, but a small smile breaking through. "My divorce left me guarded," she admitted, her free hand brushing snow from my shoulder. "I built walls to protect myself, from judgment, from failure. But with you, Those walls feel unnecessary. We stood like that, hands clasped, as the snow fell heavier, blanketing the patio in white. The party noise faded to a distant hum. In that moment, the misunderstanding shattered. The rumors, the cold shoulder, the self-doubt. It wasn't about age or positions anymore, it was about two people recognizing the quiet pull that had drawn us together all along. She leaned her head against my shoulder and I wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. No grand declarations, no rush. Just the simple act of holding each other, letting the healing begin. Her past wounds, the loneliness after her marriage ended, the pressure to always be the unbreakable supervisor, seemed to ease in that embrace. And mine? The insecurity of being just the tech guy, the fear of not being enough, they melted away too. We stayed out there until the cold became too much, then slipped back inside separately, but with a shared glance that promised more. That night marked the turn, the reversal from distance to closeness, from doubt to admission. We didn't solve everything in one conversation, but we started mending what had broken, one honest word at a time. From that night on the snowy patio, everything changed, but not in the flashy public way you'd see in movies. No announcements at work, no hand-holding in the hallways. Sophia and I kept it quiet, under the radar, like a shared secret that belonged only to us. She was still the poised admin supervisor during the day, barking orders at vendors over the phone, managing crises with that unflappable calm. And I was still the guy in coveralls, crawling under desks to fix outlets or climbing ladders to change filters. But in the stolen moments when the office emptied out and the building hummed with after-hours silence, we'd find each other. It started small. A quick coffee in the break room after everyone left, where we'd talk about nothing and everything, her frustrating meetings, my latest repair headache. No pressure, no labels, just being there, listening, letting the walls we'd both built start to crumble. Weekends became our sanctuary. The firm shut down early on Fridays, and I'd linger, pretending to wrap up a task in the basement. Sophia would text me from her office. Coast clear. I'd head up, and we'd slip out separately, meeting at her car in the back lot. She'd drive us to quiet spots, a diner on the edge of town or a park overlooking the Sandia Mountains, where the desert stretched out like an endless canvas. No fancy dates. We weren't trying to impress. It was about the simplicity. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, she opened up more than ever. After my divorce, she said, staring at the horizon, I thought I'd never let anyone in again. Too risky. Too much to lose. I reached for her hand across the console. I get it. I've always been the background guy, fixing things, not building them. But with you, it feels like I'm building something real. She squeezed back, her eyes softening. You are. We are. Those drives became ritual, a way to heal the scars we'd carried alone. Her from a marriage that had left her doubting her worth. Me from years of feeling invisible, undervalued. Back at the office, our routine evolved into something intimate yet hidden. Late evenings, when the last stragglers headed home, the lights in the tech room would stay on. I'd set up a small table there, nothing elaborate, just a folding one from storage, and cook simple meals. I'm no chef, but I could whip up rice stir-fries, scrambled eggs with veggies from the mini-fridge, maybe some grilled cheese if I felt fancy. Sophia would show up quietly, knocking softly on the doorframe, carrying a small container of homemade treats, brownies she'd baked the night before, or cookies with that perfect crisp edge. We'd sit across from each other, the hum of the servers in the background like white noise, and eat in comfortable silence at first. Then the words would flow, stories from her past, like how she'd fought her way up in a field full of skeptics, or lighter stuff, like her secret love for old Western movies. I'd share mine, growing up in a fractured home, learning to fix things as a kid because no one else would. No judgments, just understanding. It was in those moments that the healing deepened. Her guarded heart softened. My insecurities faded. We weren't fixing each other, we were just being present, and that was enough. One night, as we cleared the plates, I set my hand over hers on the table. Her skin was warm, familiar now. I never thought... I started, searching for the words. Loving someone more than a decade older than me would make me feel this peaceful. She looked up, her eyes glistening, not with sadness, but with a quiet joy. No more hesitation, no walls left. Just a woman finally allowing herself to be seen, to be cherished. She didn't say much in response, just leaned across and kissed me softly. A kiss that carried all the unspoken gratitude we'd built over these weeks. It wasn't passionate fire, it was steady warmth, the kind that lasts. We lingered there, the room's fluorescent buzz the only sound, holding on to the simplicity of it all. No rush to define us, no fear of the outside world intruding yet. In that basement glow, we found our rhythm. A private world where age didn't dictate strength, where vulnerability wasn't weakness. As the months blurred, our bond grew without fanfare. We'd text during the day, innocent check-ins that hid deeper meanings. "Fix the leak in 302, I'd send. "Thanks. Coffee later?" she'd reply. And in those quiet evenings, we'd remind each other why this worked. She taught me patience, the value of standing firm through storms. I showed her gentleness, that it's okay to let go sometimes. The office rumors? They fizzled out, unnoticed in our careful dance. No one suspected, we were too discreet. But in our hidden space, hope bloomed. A future not scripted, but possible. Maybe one day we'd step into the light, face the judgments together. For now, this was enough. Two people, mismatched on paper, perfectly aligned in heart. Not everyone younger is always the stronger one, and not everyone older doesn't deserve to be loved.